Devon is famous for these rolling green hills. For generations, we have viewed this landscape as scenery, a postcard aesthetic to be preserved from a distance. But if you drive through this landscape on a summer day, your windshield will likely stay perfectly clean. If you walk through these green vistas, you will hear fewer songbirds. The landscape appears lush, but it is often biologically silent. The habitats here are fragmented and in decline. When an ecosystem loses its biological function, the physical consequences hit our cities and towns directly. Without natural water filtration and root networks, human systems absorb the blow through increased river flooding, degraded drinking water, and economic instability. A landscape optimized strictly for neatness is a failing system. Survival requires abandoning the postcard view for a functional redesign of the land. To execute this redesign, local authorities have launched the Local Nature Recovery Strategy, or LNRS. This statutory blueprint officially redefines nature as critical national infrastructure, placing habitat health on the same priority level as the energy grid or water supply. This new blueprint evaluates traditional green spaces using the exact same logic as a public utility grid. Rivers, forests, and fields are mapped as active pipelines and processing centers. True recovery begins beneath the surface. This strategy uses bespoke soil maps to target an underexplored reservoir of life. Fungi, springtails, and earthworms form the biological foundation that allows the entire infrastructure above ground to operate. The maps identify specific areas suffering from legacy compaction. Years of intensive farming with heavy machinery have crushed the earth, turning the soil into an impermeable surface that rejects rainwater and funnels it directly into flood zones. By reading this soil data, planners can make highly specific decisions. In areas where the subterranean network is healthy, they completely avoid active tree planting. They simply leave the land alone, allowing natural regeneration to bring the ecosystem back. Mapping this invisible subterranean damage allows civil planners to precision target exactly where a landscape requires engineered intervention and where the most effective action is simply stepping back. Once the grid is mapped, the system needs active components to run it. In this model, specific wildlife species are deployed as the utility workers of the network. The beaver is now categorized as a key node. By constructing complex dams, they perform a specific, measurable function, filtering water and actively restricting flow to prevent downstream flooding in human settlements. Building and maintaining a living utility grid on a county-wide scale requires massive capital. How does a local government secure that kind of funding? Since 2024, the solution has been a policy called Biodiversity Net Gain, or BNG. BNG is a mandatory legal requirement for all new construction projects. The mechanics are straightforward. Developers must legally ensure that nature is left in a measurably better state than it was prior to their project. This mechanism turns private construction into a direct funding pipeline for ecological restoration. Local authorities use the LNRS maps to geographically route this developer money. They pull the capital away from the concrete build sites and push it strictly into designated high-opportunity areas, where the investment yields the highest ecological return. This financial routing alters the physical landscape. A housing project in one town directly funds the expansion of distant habitats, like Seton wetlands, transforming them into critical hubs for migratory species traveling globally. Biodiversity net gain forces the physical economy to pay for its own ecological life support system. Every new concrete housing block directly guarantees the expansion of a living habitat elsewhere. Bringing this infrastructure online faces one massive cultural barrier: the deeply ingrained human obsession with straight, neat, and tidy landscapes. A high-functioning ecosystem requires a chaotic tangle of vegetation to support life. Yet, to the human eye, an overgrown space like a wild churchyard registers instinctively as a sign of civic neglect. To bypass this psychological barrier, the strategy recommends a brilliant, highly effective design hack: mowing lines. By simply mowing a clean, neat border around an area of wild grass, you instantly signal to the public that the mess is intentional. It proves the area is highly managed, completely changing how the space is perceived. Re-engineering the land effectively depends on a parallel shift in human psychology, training the eye to find delight in the unruly. This grid is tailored to protect hyperlocal species found nowhere else on Earth, from the horrid groundweaver spider in Plymouth to the greater horseshoe bat. The Devon LNRS viewer features a Near Me interactive tool. It maps these macro policies directly onto specific neighborhoods and cul-de-sacs, allowing anyone to see if they live in a crucial species zone. This accessibility turns a dry statutory document into an engine for community action. It allows residents to use citizen science to record the return of specific wildlife directly in their own backyards. The next time you see a messy hedgerow or an uncut verge, you're looking at a piece of critical national infrastructure finally coming back online.